As a lot of you will be aware, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of superhero films. It's not really my forte, it's not my go-to genre when I'm looking at film, but having said that, there are some that I think are really, really great. So in this video, I'm going to go over with you today my top 10 superhero films of all time, and surprisingly, I've seen quite a lot of them. So let's go through this list 10 to 1 of my top 10 superhero films of all time. In at the 10th spot, we actually have the 1993 animated feature Batman Mask of the Phantasm. In a length of only 76 minutes, this is quite possibly the most complex Bruce Wayne depiction to date, which is so incredibly impressive. It's dark, tragic, and ever so powerful, and it features a stylish and vintage animated look. I don't know if I've ever seen an exploration of Batman's essence as a character, from his missions to his skill set to his code, as well developed as it is in this film. In at 9th place, we have another classic with the original 1978 Superman. One of, if not the most influential superhero film of all time, a film that hits all the narrative and emotional beats needed for a classic superhero story. A dramatic tale, an urban and vibrant setting, and a great supervillain adversary. It's cheesy, it has a very 70s feel, and some may say, and I know a lot do say, that it doesn't hold up today. And to that, I really disagree. And of course, we also have to mention that Christopher Reeve was the perfect casting for the role looking back. He epitomizes the Superman character. 8th place, we have my first MCU film on this list, and don't expect too many of them, unfortunately, and that is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. By far one of the best and most impressive MCU projects to date. This is a standalone spy action espionage film. It's just really well written. It's constantly exhilarating with really well choreographed action, arguably, maybe not arguably in my case, the best in Marvel's history in terms of strictly action sequences. And it also features quite a consistent tone. One of the main criticisms I have with a fair few of the MCU's films is that I rarely feel any of the stakes or feel any development within the characters. However, this one had both. And not to mention, in my opinion, this was also a huge upgrade on the first Captain America film, and they clearly took a lot of the things on board and made it so much better. 7th place goes to probably my favourite MCU film, and call it recency bias as it did only just come out this year, but that is actually Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. A film that is just full of heart, soul, and genuine passion you can really feel from James Gunn. The perfect end to the journey with these ever so likeable characters. I laughed, and I certainly cried quite a lot. The character relationships have never been more front and centre in an MCU project than in this film. James Gunn had a genuinely great handle on all these characters and how to really make an impactful journey for all their arcs. It also is a massive upgrade visually on some of the recent projects we've had, notably Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And yes, whilst it's a film that isn't without fault completely, it's one that I just had a really fun time with. 6th place, another recent project, and that is one that I'm sure many of you would have in your top 10 lists, and that is The Batman. A dark, gritty detective noir that managed to completely enthrall me in its mystery from start to finish. Through its dark villains, inspiring visuals, and a new and interesting take on Batman as a character, with Rob Pattinson delivering one of his career best performances. And a film that manages to really balance the tone between a brutal mystery and more of an audience-friendly comic book film. Not to mention, it is a technical marvel that excels in the majority of elements and is just a really good time. Do I think it drags maybe slightly in that final act? Perhaps so, but the rest of the film is fantastic. 5th place, one that I know would be on probably 70 to 80% of people's top 10 lists at this stage, and that is the 2018 animated feature, Spiderman Into the Spiderverse. I mean, Spider-Man is probably my favourite ever superhero, if I had to say one, and I think this film is just beaming with inspiring visuals, a substantial amount of ambition and heart, and it really was a colossal achievement in the animated field. The artistry is second to none, a visual feast that doesn't pull any punches when it comes to delivering jaw-dropping sequences over and over again. Completely reinvigorates the superhero genre and a film on growing up, family, and really believing in yourself. Just an incredible Spider-Man film, and maybe one of the best ever. We'll have to see. Fourth place, we actually have M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable, one that is probably controversial on this list comparatively to a lot of you out there. Now, I think M. Night, this is a really interesting take on the superhero genre. It's dark, intelligent, well shot, a great story on fragility, power, and what it means to be a hero, and most importantly, it's grounded in realism. It's so heartfelt and such an original take on the superhero mythos, and furthermore, the visuals are perhaps the best part, with a lot of the major symbolism in the film revolving around colours and the dark atmospheric cinematography and score. And I actually think if this wasn't attached to M. Night as a director, who I believe to be one of the best working today, but has a lot of people who don't like him, I think it would be a lot more speaked about as being one of the best superhero projects of the past 30, 40 years. In the third place, we have the classic Pixar animated feature. I'm sure a lot of you would know this would be on my list, and that is, of course, The Incredibles. The quintessential superhero family flick, but it's more like a mature family drama. Showcasing an authentic family with relatable issues, it perfectly captures a family dynamic, teamwork, and the essence of responsibility. And of course, we have to mention that I think not only does it have one of, if not the best Pixar villain, but one of the best villains of this century so far in Syndrome. It's hilarious, it really stands the test of time, it's beautifully constructed and animated, and I think it goes down as one of the best superhero films ever for me, and in fact, in my top 3, as you can see. Second place is one that I honestly feel, I know they said this was Spiderverse, but I'm talking 90-95% of you would have on your list, and that is, of course, The Dark Knight. Now, The Dark Knight actually used to be a favourite of mine. Would I consider it to be a all-time favourite now? No. However, it was unquestionably a remarkable accomplishment. It completely exceeds the superhero genre for the most part, and it's a wonderful harmony of playfulness and innovation, with its themes forced onto you but not in an intrusive way. Similar to the Batman, it's dark, it's gritty, it's atmospheric, and it's such a pleasure to see the creative mayhem, and it endlessly delivers on exciting and atmospheric set pieces. Does it have issues as a film? Sure. But it still manages to provide such a thrilling and tense experience, and of course features some of the best performances I have seen in a superhero film probably ever. And at number 1, for my favourite and my number 1 superhero film of all time, we have Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. For me, this is still the most genuine and impactful superhero film to date. A film that really appears to improve drastically upon each viewing, and in my eyes the definitive example of superhero cinema and what it should look like. It's so pure, and a film that I just personally have such great memories with, and I think similar to Superman and The Incredibles, as I mentioned, it works on every front that a superhero film really should. The perfect version of Peter Parker as a character, and Raimi was the absolute best filmmaker they could have hired to create this incredible trilogy.